StatMarket with Chandan Das and Udit Garg. Hey guys, we are super pumped to be hosting this episode of the Stat Market. We have finally kicked off the Stat Market after several weeks of planning. In this episode, me and Yudi Garg will be briefing you about what to expect from the Stat Market going forward.
All right, before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the inception of StatMarket. We want to discuss how it all came together. And I still remember it was just in the comment section in LinkedIn when we were discussing about use of data analytics into marketing. And this is where the inception of the StatMarket came about. Uh, After those comments on LinkedIn, we decided to collaborate into a webinar, hosting a webinar, and we did a webinar on future of data analytics, and we believe it was a huge success because we, as a first time webinar host, we had almost 50 people in the webinar, and we were able to engage them throughout. So I think what we had to say and what other panelists had to say, I think really made a lot of sense to our listeners and to our viewers at that time. And that is why we came back with StatMarket, where everything that Chandan and I have and we have learned, we are going to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am so glad that we connected on that and then eventually hosted the Future of Data webinar. And because of those events, I am super confident that the stat market is going to add so much value to everyone who is going to listen to this episodes. That being said, let's talk about our individual journeys, UD. So, how did you get the expertise and hold on data analytics that you have today?
All right, Chandan. So I still remember my journey began when I decided to explore the world because the world is so vast and it has so much to teach us. It was after my high school that I got that otherworldly experience, you can say, where everything around me started to make sense. Where everything around me, I started to judge everything in a very different way. This is when I, went through a journey of learning engineering, marketing, and finance, which are, the three fields that I have experience in. And as I was doing this, these things, started giving me different perspectives. And I really believe different perspectives is what you need when you're looking at data. When
Absolutely.
data is there, like when you have access to the data, different perspectives can really help you, solve complex problems. And that's what really calms me as a person because when I'm doing some data research or data analytics, uh, having that data in my hand and solving complex problems is really very easy for me. And this is
Right.
exactly the same experience I think I want to share and I want all of you guys to have.
Right. And that's a very interesting point that you added there. That data analytics is also a lot to say about perspective. You could be looking at the same sample of data, and two different people could interpret it in two different ways
Exactly.
and utilize it for their own kind of
Right.
productivity, right? That's the most beautiful thing about data. And on that note, let me talk about my journey, the way I started out in marketing. For me, also, it began at a very early age, and that was at the age of 15 when I started, when I started out as a content freelancer,
Okay.
and I was up on a website called Warrior Forums where I would, kind of advertise myself as a content writer, and I would get clients to write for on different niches. So that was my first step, and it was like almost like a summer break from my 10th grade. So I had nothing to do, and this was what got me very interested.
Right.
Eventually, I kind of grew up to learn social media marketing, search engine optimization, Facebook ads, Google ads, and all of those kind of marketing mojo. And fast forward to my engineering years. Where almost in my second year I was handling up to five clients while I
Wow.
was studying for my engineering and graduation eventually.
Okay.
And after I completed my graduation, I think that's the first time I joined into the mainstream industry of digital marketing. And it started with healthcare industry, eventually went to e-commerce, fashion, real estate, and a couple of other industries. This was being done through either full-time job or through kind of freelancing gigs. Eventually, after 4 years in 2019, I decided that I wanted to open my own agency, and that's where Marketing Young was born. And I'm a co-founder in the PPC ad agency
Nice.
that we own. Uh, and we are all about just advertisement and funnel hacking for our clients in different industries. So that's the kind of vast experience and knowledge that I bring. And during my time, what I've observed is every day, whenever we are launching a good campaign or a bad campaign or an ugly campaign, it's always been backed and identified by data. So the day I met with Udit, even when we were talking about marketing, there was a lot of facts that I could relate with him because he was tying it up with data analytics, and that's where I said, you know what, we got to do this on informational basis where we can share these combination of this knowledge with everyone out there, and that's exactly what I intend to do. For all the episodes that we are going to record in the stat market.
Exactly. And
And
I'm really glad that we connected in the first place. And I'm also very
yeah,
sure that the experience that you have, especially the entrepreneurial skills that you build up with coming with marketing young,
right,
that is going to help our listeners in a lot of ways. And
absolutely,
exactly, dude. And coming
yeah.
to the stat market, I think as listeners, you should be expecting a lot of things happening in the stat market. We are going to basically have alternate series of marketing and data analytics, where we will be discussing the hows and the whats. We will keep it more informational, more data approached, than talking about theories. Another thing is, after getting started in using these, like we want to use these whatever we will be talking about together, and this will help you in improving your marketing efforts. Now it could be, either you may be doing as an entrepreneur, or you could be doing as an employee, or it could be a freelance job, or you could be using these skills as a form of personal development.
Right, right. That absolutely, and I have to agree with Yudi here. I mean, this entire series of episodes of the Stat Market, it's applicable to almost everyone who's looking to learn something about marketing or even data analytics. So even if you are a analyst, and or if you're just a student who wants to start a career in data analysis, then we would have series which would help you in understanding how to go about it. So the entire agenda of these episodes is that to kind of bring you the how and then tell you what to do with it. So we're not just going to be sharing facts and the best practices, we're actually going to be sharing step by step guides on how to go about your marketing activities and tying it to data analytics. Isn't that right, Yudi?
Exactly. I think that is the approach that everybody needs to take, anyways. We have,
Right.
you and I, we have been in the industry for long enough to know that most of the marketers, out there, they are not actually doing anything. They are basically, they have, they come up with some money and they spend it on ads like crazy without even thinking ki if they're spending that money of their client or of
Right.
their own at the right place. They don't understand the potential markets, the niche markets. They don't understand what the concepts of ROIs, and these things really matter when we talk about marketing. And these questions can be answered very easily through data analytics.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, there are different faucets of marketing. Did I just say facets? So, anyways, there are different faucets of marketing and data analytics when you tie them together. There is the number one, which is deciding what kind of strategy and what kind of campaign that you want to do for your client. Uh, that comes from some amount of data analysis. And then the next step is, analyzing data once your campaign has started running on an everyday basis. And then there is the post analysis where you determine what actions you need to take to improve the current campaign that you're running. And all of these faucets, that's what we are going to be focusing on in the episodes of the Stack Market. And Yudi, why don't you tell them about what to expect more if the listener is a analytic guy or a data analyst or a student who wants to build a career as a data analyst?
So, guys, if you are, starting out as a data analytics person, or a go-to person in data analytics, let me tell you, this podcast is basically going to talk a lot about the practical usage of data analytics tool. And we are not, going to stop at just the marketing field. We are under data analytics. We are going to cover basically every industry out there, episode on episode, because we want to basically find the uses of data analytics in every field. And believe me, even the most weird industries that you can think about, data analytics is being used right now. uh, Talk
Absolutely.
about any industry and data analytics is present. It's just that
Yeah.
sometimes we as the consumer, or we as somebody who's just entering into this field, we do not understand where all this can be applied. And I think Chandan and I basically are bringing Stat Market just for that, where we want to bring the weirdest concepts of data analytics and marketing, not just together, but out to you guys, so that you can start exploring things on your end. And that's what we want for you.
In fact, there's a fun fact. Like a couple of months back, I was talking to a friend who used to work in a big brand, and that brand, and what, like, the insight that he gave me was that that brand used to use data to kind of analyze what factories they should shut down and what factories they should open and in which location in a particular country. Like, imagine data is driving business decisions, business outcomes as huge as something like shutting down a factory and opening another business factory in a different location. So I hope that gives you a pretty good idea about how much data can help you in not just everyday day-to-day activities, but also on an organizational level. Now, on that note, we will end this episode here, and we want to tell you what to expect in the next episode. The next episode of the Stat Market, we are going to launch it the next Thursday, and we're going to talk about pandemic proofing your ads and ensuring that they get the success in the most uncertain times. And we will be tying it to data analytics as well. as to how you need to understand what elements that you need to add to kind of make your ads pandemic proof. Now, with that, Chandan Das signing off.
All right, take care, guys. Sayonara.